Good evening and welcome to a very special episode of the Rangers Years, episode 6. I'm delighted to have someone that is not only a former league winner as part of the 55 squad under Steven Gerrard, but also a very good friend of mine. Good evening, Andy Firth. Andy, how are you, mate? You well?
All good, Stevie boy. Yeah, all good. Good to be back on chatting nonsense again.
Yeah, it certainly is. Andy and I done this when Andy first came to Rangers. And it was a year or so in, and the reaction it got was absolutely fabulous. Andy, you more or less became a bit of a cult hero at Rangers. It was brilliant just because you were just so happy to be part of that club and our club, and it was just brilliant.
Yeah, it was. Still, every time we have a little chat about it, or especially when we had obviously Steven and the staff brought me out to Saudi 18 months ago, and it was really good for me to be on that side of the game with them, but also obviously most conversations led back to the time together we all had at Rangers. So obviously a time that I thoroughly enjoyed, probably the best 4 years of my life. It was just amazing to be a part of. Special club, and obviously still watching. It's been a bit of an interesting season, but if you'd have asked me what was going to happen at the end of October, whenever it was that Martin lost his job, I wouldn't have thought we'd be in a pretty decent position come the split. So 6 big games to go.
Yeah, it's definitely exciting. We're going to come to all that because I wanted to start at the end, which is a bit strange, but I want to find out about you now. You're obviously out. You're in Saudi at Al Ettifaq. Have I pronounced that well?
Yeah, nailed it, Stevie.
Yeah, mate, honestly, you should see me on the podcast on a Sunday when it's like Hearts or somebody. I butcher absolutely everybody's names, so it's became a bit of a running joke. But talk to me a wee bit about being a goalkeeper coach there. You took your badges really early, didn't you? You took them from a really young age. You were telling me off camera you've got your license next week and things as well. So how are you enjoying that side of it? And tell me a wee bit about life over in Saudi. I'm really keen to find out what it's like.
Yeah, coaching was always the next step. I've kind of wanted to do that since I can remember, probably 13, 14. I always had an interest in it. And I always said and always knew that the day I stopped playing football, I would not walk straight into a job, but as soon as I stopped playing at whatever age that was, I always assumed it was going to be, I'd do a Greeks and play till I'm 40, and then once the body gives in, I'll go straight into coaching. So it was always something I wanted to do. I did my B license at 18, and I'm now on my goalkeeping A license, which would be pretty much me finished in the goalkeeping qualifications then. But yeah, it was always something I really wanted to do. Did bits of coaching at Liverpool as a kid. I actually had the offer to stop playing. They offered me a chance to stop playing at 18 to go into full-time coaching then. And obviously I was still young and wanted to give it a crack and carry on playing and stuff like that. And thankfully I did that. But Liverpool were really supportive of me all the way through, letting me coach while I was still a player and helping me through all my qualifications and things like that. So yeah, it's been really good fun. Something I always wanted to do. And when I left Rangers and I was still playing in Wales, it was kind of Liverpool kind of created a role for me, which was training with the under-21s team as a player. I was head of the under-9s, under-12s goalkeeping department with the lads on a night, and obviously still playing for the team, Connah's Quay in Wales. So it was kind of a job that they half created on the fly for me, which was unbelievable from them, and gave me 2 more years of kind of running the 9s to 12s and working within the goalkeeping department at Liverpool. And then that led to here. Obviously got the phone call from Steven that he was going to take the head goalkeeping coach from Liverpool when he left with Jurgen. So I've known Johnny for 15 years, and he's getting a little bit older now, so he needs someone with a little bit more energy and stuff like that to help him with the training and the service. So when the phone call came, I'd kind of done 2 years at Connah's Quay, and I'd thought that loved my 2 years there, but I probably would have been maybe looking for something else anyway, playing wise. But when the opportunity came to just try something completely different, full-time coaching, first-team environment, working with Steven and the staff again, working with John again. It was a no-brainer, and we're 20-odd months down the line now. So, but yeah, absolutely love it here.
Tell me a wee bit about your day. First of all, who's the goalkeepers that you train? And tell me a wee bit about what like a normal sort of training session and things look like for Andy Firth. Do you have anybody as crazy as Allan McGregor to train?
No. Definitely no one on Griggs' level, and I don't think I'll find anyone like Griggs again. But yeah, it's completely different. The first 6 months I not struggled, but it was different getting used to switching my head from a player to a coach, and seeing it from their side of things. As a player, you turn up an hour and a half before training, you have a bit of food, you have a quick stretch, and you're on the pitch, and you don't really fully understand the detail that goes into it a lot of the time. The detail that goes into the sessions and the meetings and why you're doing certain things on which days. And it took me a little bit of time to get used to, especially the first 6 months. But now it's like you go in 3-4 hours before training, and a lot of my stuff's like opposition analysis. So watching the opposition, having a look at their threats and set pieces and penalties, and a lot more work on my laptop now than probably on the pitch. I spend more time on my laptop easily than on a pitch these days, which is something I wasn't too keen on or too really that good at first. Something I'm not particularly done, but something I love doing now, and it's part of the game. Yeah, so it's something that's learning on the fly, but it's been a really good 18 months.
Certainly been good for your tan, mate. You've got a cracking colour about you, so not like us pasty white folk back here in Scotland. But I want to talk a wee bit about Connah's Quay as well, the Nomads, and you had 2 brilliant years there. You won the 2024 Welsh Cup as well, and you became, like, as I said, the cult following at Rangers kind of followed you. I always remember on social media you were saving penalties and that, and the comments in it were always Rangers fans. And you said you had a great 2 years there. What was it like to move away from Rangers, to get over? And I don't say this as being big-headed or anything, but to go from a club like Rangers and leave that kind of 4 years you had behind, and you had the highs of the league win and being involved in the squad that went to the Europa League and everything else, and Steven and Gio and all that, because it was constant. And then to go away from that, to find yourself as number one at another club and have to deal with, right, Rangers are gone, I need to get them out of my system, but still having that feeling for the club, but you also want to prove yourself as a number one capably at somewhere else. What was it like? It's such a big step. But
to be honest, like, it was never about getting over Rangers. It was like being honest. As soon as Steven left and Gio came in, I kind of knew the writing was on the wall. I probably wasn't going to be renewed. The role of the number 3 was something I absolutely loved at Rangers. But because of me being an English, I'm not a homegrown Scottish player, so obviously Kieran Wright Ginge is still at the club. Ginge was usually the number 3 in Europe, even when I was there, because of the homegrown rules. He came through the clubs, and so he came through Rangers and Scotland's system, so he ticks a lot of boxes for the squad rules and stuff like that. So I always knew that long term, ideally, most clubs, when you try to do it, you'll have a homegrown number 2 and a homegrown number 3, especially when Griggs left and Jack's come in now as an international. That's why obviously Robbie stayed around for a while. They had Robbie as a 3 and then number 2. They obviously brought Liam Kelly back in. And I just kind of knew that my course had run. And yeah, it was a different step, but it was obviously I moved back down to Liverpool. Walked into the job by chance. Basically, I'd went to Liverpool to stay fit in pre-season and turned up on day 1 of pre-season and got offered a job on the spot. So it was Liverpool were really good in accommodating something for me, and obviously went to play part-time in Wales as well. I'd played at really low levels before when I was first coming through at Liverpool and going on loan to get experiences. So it wasn't something that I ever really turned my nose up. I just loved playing football, and Connah's Quay were willing to take a chance and get me in, and yeah, for 2 years it was really good. I could kind of pick and choose the days at Liverpool I trained and coached, and the same for Connah's Quay. I only had to train once a week instead of the lads were doing twice, just to work around the coaching and stuff. So I was kind of self-employed, and it was the first time in my life where I wasn't like told, right, Monday you have to be here and that's it, or Friday you're doing this at this time. It was kind of, I could kind of work my own schedule and pick and choose when I wanted to train, knowing my body, and pick and choose when I needed to coach and when I could have a bit of time off. And so from that side of things, it was the freest I've ever been in football. So yeah, it was a really good 2 years. Thoroughly loved the experience of just playing again and playing for 2 years, and obviously getting my foot back in the door at Liverpool and getting back into the coaching was obviously something that's led to this next opportunity. So yeah, obviously gutted to leave Rangers. I'd have stayed there for as long as I could, but yeah, I'd run my race, and it was time to move on.
Let's journey back to the very, very start then of Andy Firth's career. Obviously, Liverpool having such a massive influence on that. I love the fact that they've been so brilliant with you. I think that's great. So to hear that you say that they've looked after you and created a role, and I think that's absolutely top class from them. But let's go back to the start. Tell me a bit about what your key influences were. Who were your big coaches, and how did you choose to become a goalkeeper?
Never chose. In my head, I was always the midfielder. I was always the next Stevie G coming through, and yeah, just wanted to play anywhere but in goal, to be honest. Did the usual, started up front, scoring loads of goals, and then played in midfield, and then got moved to a centre half when I was 10. Yeah, 10 in the under-11 season. And then for my 11th birthday, it was my mum and dad had obviously paid for me to go to a Liverpool soccer school thing down at the academy for, I think it was the Easter holidays or something like that. So just went down there for 4 days. As a big Liverpool fan, just throwing myself around, being an idiot. And did a penalty shootout competition, and no one in our age group fancied going in goal. So just being the idiot I am, I threw my hand up and went in goal and just threw myself in front of a few balls. And the goalkeeping coach from the academy was just stood behind the goal watching me, and that's where it all kind of took off. Yeah, he spoke to me afterwards and spoke to my dad and said that, well, he just assumed I was an actual goalkeeper and I'd never really done it properly before. And so yeah, that started at 11, and I signed not too long after that, going into the start of the next season, and that was it then. Converted goalkeeper for the end of time.
So who were your big influences coming through then at Liverpool? Who were your coaches, and how did you make those kind of transitions through the years?
So the first coach, the one who found me, is Tim Dittmer. He's now head of coaching at the English FA. Still close to him, still speak to him quite a lot. He's the one who's helping with the course next week. So yeah, Tim was the big one that he saw me and he gave me the chance and brought me into the club. He left after maybe the first year, I think. There was a big overhaul with staff in the academy. Going into my under-12 season. And then the three biggest coaches who've had the biggest influence on me are still at Liverpool. Oh, well, not John's here now with me in Saudi, but the three were John Achterberg, Mark Morris, and Neil Edwards. And the three, well, Moz and Taff are still at Liverpool now, running the 18s and the 21s. And John's obviously my boss over here in Saudi. So them three were, they're the ones I had from 12 till I left at 21. So I had them for the best part of 10 years. All completely different, all have different ways of doing things, but always really open and honest, and kind of told me how it was. And I really respected even if it's not something you want to hear at the time, if it's something you're not doing right or something you need to work on, they were always really honest with me and tried to help me in the best possible way. So them three were massive. And then obviously Big Col at Rangers. Big Col was top with me for 4 years. And now he's down at Liverpool as well. So yeah, it's been a strange one seeing Colin in the Liverpool kit and not the Rangers kit, but obviously I made up for him in his new job there, and he seems to be loving it, so that's good.
Yeah, absolutely is. Let's journey to Rangers. You had obviously left Liverpool. You were at Barrow. You'd done your coaching, or you were starting your coaching journey, and then all of a sudden Rangers become on the horizon. How did that happen, and what did it feel like when knowing that Steven Gerrard wanted you and wanted you to be part of things? How did they sell it to you, and what was the contact like at first?
Yeah, it wasn't one I was, well, definitely wasn't one I was expecting. I'd to the summer Steven had left to go to Rangers. I'd left the club to go to Barrow. I'd had a taste the year before on loan at Chester, being a number one and playing games, and the offer from Barrow came in. It's going to be the number one. So yeah, Liverpool tore the contract up, let me walk on a free. So I went to Barrow, and yeah, that was it. I had in my contract, I think it was after 20 league starts, it triggered a pay increase in my second year of my contract. And then after 19 games, I got dropped and never played again. So I think that was about October time. So I was sat on the bench for Barrow for a month or two, a little bit wound up with the situation, obviously not being in the team anymore. And then just remember Bealsy sent me a message on Twitter or Instagram or something saying, "Oh, here's my new number. Give us a ring. Be nice to have a catch up." I've spoke to two of the lads who knew Bealsy well. Two obviously came through with Harry Wilson, who's at Fulham now, and Tom Brewitt. They're my two closest mates in football, and had a chat with them, and them two were on straight away saying, "Oh, you're going to Rangers, you're going to Rangers." And I was like, "There's absolutely fucking no chance." Sitting on the bench at Barrow, I just assumed it was one of Bealsy's mates who needed a keeper, or knew I wanted to try and move on and find some playing time or something like that. So, but yeah, I had the conversation with Bealsy. Yeah, and it was the easiest decision in my life. I knew what the role was. I knew I was number 3. I knew as a training keeper, game time was going to be 0 or as close to 0 as possible. But I'd kind of done that role a little bit over the years at Liverpool with young keepers coming through who had a much higher ceiling than me. So the lads knew I was fine not playing, and they knew I just loved training and loved being part of it, and always kind of, even when I wasn't playing, at times I thought I should have been playing, if that makes sense. I still had the right attitude to go into training, and yeah, and just be one of the lads, have a smile on my face, and just enjoy it. So yeah, the job was sold to me as that, and yeah, the easiest decision I've made in my life.
So you come to Rangers, and obviously Allan McGregor's there. Wes Foderingham would have been there as number 2 as well.
Yeah.
What was it like to work with Steven Gerrard as such an icon of Liverpool? You being such a massive Liverpool fan, and then all of a sudden, because for us it was surreal having Steven Gerrard. You know how I feel about him. I was on the phone to you in the summer. What's happening? Is the gaffer coming home? And you know how we felt about him. But what was it like for you to go there? Because you're obviously working. It's a job. He's the manager. But at the same time, it's like, Christ, that's Steven Gerrard. How did that feel for you?
Yeah, it's been yeah, like obviously Liverpool fan growing up. All the favourite Liverpool teams I watched, obviously up until the last couple of years, where he was the main man, he was the captain, he was the best player by a country mile. So I've kind of done a little bit of a full circle. I remember obviously trained with him a couple of times, coming towards the end when Brendan was the manager. For the last 2 or 3 years, there'd be times I'd be up at Melwood training with him as a player. To then he left, went to America, and by the time he came back, I was still in the reserves. He came back and taken the under-18s job at Liverpool. So whenever I had a day off, or whenever the 21s weren't training and the 18s were, I'd always make an effort to go and train with the 18s, just because I wanted to train in front of him. And I was still just a big kid and a big fan, and just absolutely adored him. So I just wanted to go and throw myself around like an idiot in front of him, basically. And then yes, 6 months later, the phone call came, and he obviously wanted to bring me up the road. And yeah, it's been yeah, you can't really put it into words. It's just, he still is. He was my idol. He's my hero. He was the player I wanted to be growing up as a kid. And quite luckily, it's been an interesting relationship, but only good words to say. And he's given me 2 absolutely unbelievable opportunities, obviously up the road in Scotland, and then having the trust to bring me out here as a 27-year-old first team coach was, surreal.
What was Steven Gerrard like as the manager? Because we know him as a player, we know him as a legend, but I dealt with him a couple of times in press conferences. It was quite funny. He gave me the short shrift once, and I was absolutely devastated because I repeated the question. It was Steven Gerrard, and I asked him, and he says, "Are you not listening?" And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like I've just everybody was texting me saying, "Are you okay, mate?" And it's like, so, what was he like as a manager? Because we've heard some funny stories, which I'll come on to in a wee second or so. But what was he like? I mean, obviously, you had Alfredo. There was quite a dressing room there because quite big characters. Alfredo, you've got Tab, you've got Goldson, you've got Griggsy, Stephen Davis, Jermaine Defoe. Like, there's such characters in that dressing room when you think about it. How did he handle it?
Well, he still has. He's got the aura of, you'll know Stevie being in a room with him. When he walks in the room, you know he's walked in the room, even if you don't see him. He's got the aura and the charisma that, and obviously the player he was, it demanded respect straight away. He was obviously still very young and very fresh in his coaching journey, but he walked in the room and demanded standards and drove the standards, and people looked up to him straight away. And and he's a proper leader. There's a bit of had this conversation last week that there's a little bit of a culture change in the way I think managers in first and what they call now, first team. No, what is it? For head coach, that's the one I'm looking for. There's a bit of a culture change from managers, and now it seems to be first team coaches and head coaches rather than. And Steve was just such a good manager, drove the standards, has the fear factor you need as a manager, but also knew how to get the best out of players. And for me, that was something I absolutely loved, that he had the staff behind him and around him that can help with the coaching, and they can do Bealsy and Gazmack and CC. They can do the coaching work and the stuff on the grass, but as an actual manager of looking after the squad and knowing when's the right time to dig people out, when's the right time to give them a cuddle and make sure they're all right. He was top with that, and obviously, there was a few interesting characters in the squad. So I know Alfredo gave him a few sleepless nights with decisions to make, but yeah.
I'm interested to know that there's one funny story that Andy Halliday tells, and I hope you witnessed this, because he tells the story of Steven Gerrard coming into the into the dressing room after Allan McGregor had got sent off by Hibs. And he comes in and he's like, "What did you do?" And Grigsy's like, "Nothing, never touched him at all." And it comes up on the telly and you see Griggsy blatantly kicking the boy in the back, and Gerrard's just like, "What the fuck? Did you tell me you witnessed that?"
We were Andy wasn't me and Andy weren't in the squad, so me and Andy were up in I'm pretty sure Andy wasn't in the squad, or he'd maybe gone for a piss or something, but I was up in the stands watching it happen. And the players, when you weren't in the squad, you used to sit to the left of the director's box. So we were literally bang in line of the 18-yard box. And obviously, I didn't see what happened. I saw Greaves goes to our volley, it, ball flies away, him and the striker both hit the deck, and I was like, this is interesting. And then I seen the red card get brought out, so that was it. I was just straight sprint downstairs, and I was waiting in the tunnel. Managed to get to the tunnel before Griggs did, and Andy was in there as well. And again, he comes off the pitch, and I was like, "What the fuck's happened there?" And he was like, "I've just tried to fucking didn't understand a fucking word he said. He'd lost his head." So I was like, "Oh right, okay, sound." So he fucked off inside, and it was obviously live game on Sky, so all the Sky cameras are getting ready to do the interview in the tunnel, and they had the live screen on. And you just see him half volley the ball and karate kick the kid in the back, and I was just like, "Oh, this could be a funny one." This, and then Just going the changes after, and something along the gaffer's words were, I played 750 games in my career and got 9 red cards, and you crazy bastards have had fucking 15 this season or something like that. And then, gave Greaves an earful, and yeah. But I do have to thank Greaves, because if he didn't get the straight red card, I probably never made my Rangers appearance. So.
Yeah, that's true, because that led to, well, you got the opportunity to come on it, didn't you, to come on for the last 10 minutes or so. What was that like, Andy? Because it was, you were, I suppose, without sounding harsh, but judging on what Bealsy had said to you, you were never supposed to really get minutes. So you maybe thought, I wonder, would I ever get on? But to get on and play a part must have meant the world to you.
Well, no, that was it. I knew I was always going to be number 3. Obviously, Wes had been the number 1 at the club for a few years. I knew he'd done really well at Swindon. And obviously got his chance to Rangers, was number 1 for a few years. Then obviously Greaves come back. He's an absolute hero. So I knew I was always just there as the number 3. So I never expected to play a game. But the gaffer's words were always, you've got to be ready, because there's been times things can happen really quickly in football with injuries and suspensions and illnesses and stuff like that, that I never know if I am going to need you, but if I do need you, I need you to be ready. And yeah, it was just, Greaves gets the red card a couple of weeks before for the karate kick, and then Wes got clattered. Wes got clattered with about 15 minutes to go and tried to carry on for 5 minutes and couldn't do it. So thankfully I didn't really have too much time to think about it. It was just literally ran to the corner flag, and by the time I got to the corner flag, the gaffer was shouting me back and telling me to get ready. So yeah, 10 minutes, short and sweet. Should have saved shouldn't have, but it'd have been nice if I could have saved the penalty, but we can't have it all perfect. I was just happy just to, like you say, just get on the pitch once, and that's something that no one can ever take away from me.
Rangers would go through a bit of a turbulent time. There was a point where, as we shut for COVID, there was question marks around Steven. I think he even said himself that he was questioning. Alfie buggered off and never came back for a cup game, and it was all sorts of stress. And he was openly saying in press conferences that he was thinking about his decisions. I think Rangers were beaten by Hamilton at Ibrox in midweek, and there was big question marks around what we're doing. And then all of a sudden, the world stopped. It went to COVID, and Rangers came back that summer. And what was it like when they came back? Because I've heard a lot of players say that it was just completely different, and it was, the attitude was complete focus, complete concentration, complete everything. And the message from the gaffer was, we cannot lose this season. It's, we have to win the title and things like that. You were involved in that squad from day one of that season. What was it like?
I remember, the day Steven went to Ibrox to get presented in front of the fans, he was actually in the academy that morning, and I had 5 minutes with him before he left, and I'd obviously seen the rumours online, and he turned up in his Rangers club suit at Liverpool's training ground, and so I obviously got, the writing was on the wall, and I was just obviously looking as a football fan, looking in from the outside, and I was like, Celtic have won fucking 7 in a row or whatever it was at the time. It's a big job on your hands. And he was like, yeah, I've got 3 years to stop it. I need to win 1 league title in the next 3 years, otherwise it's game over. And that was it. We'd burnt through the first 2 years, and it was do or die time, and obviously a crazy year for everyone in the world. And something that, it was such a strange environment going into the indoor hall at the training ground, and everyone sat on one chair, and then your teammates sat fucking 10 yards away, and everyone social distancing and all that. It was such a strange year, strange circumstances. But I don't know, obviously, about the rest of the lads. I just felt lucky to carry on being able to do my job normally enough, being able to get out the house, still being able to socialise with my teammates, even if they were 5 yards away. It was a really good, while no one else could particularly do their normal day-to-day life and stuff like that, we were lucky enough that the football once it got started again, it was fairly normal for us. Obviously, without the fans, there was was the one thing we'd all love to change if we could. But yeah, we all knew the writing was on the wall. We couldn't be the team. We couldn't be part of the team and part of the squad that let the other lot win 10 in a row. So yeah, there was no choice of we won't be allowed back in Glasgow if they'd have won that year.
Why was it so different that year? What was the key differences? Was it attitude? Was it mentality? Was it the signings that we made in the summer just helping? Because obviously Kamar Roof was such a massive part of that season. Why did it suddenly click? Because it went from a season where we were quite a bit behind to unbeaten, and it just everything that we touched that year, albeit league-wise, we were just formidable. Why did we manage? Why did Steven manage to nail it like he did in that year? Could you're part of the squad? Was there a difference? Did you sense a difference?
I'd be lying if I said like there was an obvious difference. I'd say pre-season was probably, because usually lads are hating going back to pre-season. You just had 4 weeks off in the sun on holiday with your family, with your mates, few beers, blah blah blah. But because we've been sat in the house for 2 months, the biggest difference was probably one, everyone's just desperate to get out of the house and get playing football again. But once we actually started training, I can't remember too much of anything being that different at all. The training session, not all the sessions are the exact same, but the way we'd prepare for games was the same. The way we'd train was the same. It wasn't like we were training more or less than we would have done. Yeah, I can't really put my finger on what it was, but everything just clicked. Like, I remember the end of the season awards, which just shows how good we were. Like, we had to make up an award for Connor Golden to win an award, because Davo had won an award, Griegs had won an award, Tav had won an award, and Connor Golden had played every minute of every game all season and was absolutely unbelievable for us. Even the gaff was like, I can't not, for everything he's given us this year, we can't not let him walk away with an award to say, like, you were out of this world this year for us. And it was just, yeah, we obviously unbeaten, most clean sheets, best defensive record. So obviously we didn't concede a lot of goals, and a lot of people had the season of their lives in a season where we needed them to. And Tav was ridiculous. The amount of assists and things Borna and Tav got between them was ridiculous. And like the gaffer said on the overlap last week, with the bringing in Kamar to help JD and help Buff with goals at big times. Big Cedric got a couple of big important goals for us when we needed him as well. And we just had such good attacking options that when people were injured or weren't in form, or Buff would do a Buff and do whatever he's doing, we had enough strength in depth and enough quality that we just found a way to win games. And even when we weren't great, we found ways to win games.
Yeah, we certainly did. You're right about Connor Goldson. I remember writing an article and I described it as Connor Goldson being the rock that 55 was built around, and that's how I felt about it. He was absolutely unbelievable that season. But in the middle of all that, we did have some big performers. We had, obviously, Glenn Kamara, we had Stephen Davis, we had Ryan Jack, consistent, Borna, Tav, like you talk about. What I wanted to ask you about is, what was Allan McGregor like to train with? Now, I know what Allan McGregor was like to ask. Press conferences, nobody wanted to speak to Griegsy at all. But I also seen Allan the night that he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and we spoke to him as the fans, like kind of upstairs, away from the press, and Allan was unbelievable, so nice. He was just open, he was just so proud, tears in his eyes, kind of thing. And he's got a persona in front of the camera, which is quite funny. I enjoy it, but there's no way we're asking Griegsy a question. But what was he like to train with? Because, I mean, I seen Allan McGregor pull off over 2 periods at Rangers some of the most outstanding saves I've ever seen. And I grew up with Andy Gorham, who I find it difficult to say isn't the best Rangers goalkeeper that there's ever been. But I'll tell you something, Allan McGregor, for longevity, everything he's won, the saves that he's made, there's an argument there that he is the very best we've ever had, and I understand that. He certainly deserves every plaud that he has. Some of the saves, remember the save? I think it was in Prague, the one that
that's the best one.
Unbelievable.
But the thing that
he was crazy, wasn't he?
Just on the Prague one, the thing that makes that better is obviously we played on Saturday at home. I think it was can't have been Dundee United. They played Dundee United. We played someone at home and won, St Mirren. And the gaffer had said, if we win on Saturday, no matter what, I think that'd mean we'd have to lose the last 10 games and they'd have to win the next 10 games and it'd still go to goal difference. She was like, if we win Saturday, that's it, we're partying. So we won Saturday. That was the first time where obviously all the fans turned up at Ibrox in the middle of lockdown, caused absolute chaos. Won the game. Couple of 1 or 2 bevies that night. Went to the training ground the next day for a recovery session, and obviously they played away at Dundee United.
Yeah, they drew 0-0.
Sunday 12, and then that was confirmed then. And I've seen Griggs have a couple of pints, and he'd obviously had 1 or 2 pints the night before, and 1 or 2 pints on the Sunday, and he was absolutely zombied. And then he goes and produces that save 3 days later at 40 years old or whatever he was. It just like, an absolute freak. He's I actually had a conversation. I remember speaking to Col about it, and obviously I'd seen Griggs play a few times against Liverpool, playing for Cardiff and playing for Hull and stuff. And then watching him up close at Rangers, especially seeing him in games and the amount of like ridiculous saves he pulled off. I remember saying to Col, I was like, was Griggs always that good, or is it like, because obviously he was a top keeper. If you're playing the Premier League, you're a top level keeper. But Col's words were, he was a good keeper, but as soon as he got a Rangers shirt on, he's a different level. If he's got a Scotland shirt or a Hull City shirt or his Cardiff shirt, you've got a good keeper, but there was something different. Once he's in a Rangers shirt, it was his team. He came through the club. He's held in the highest regard, and just that he just had that X factor when he was playing for Rangers. He was just an absolute freak. Someone still speaks to now. Absolutely loved him. He was unbelievable with me. Him and his missus were unbelievable with me and my missus in Glasgow for the 4 years, and he doesn't get enough credit for how much of a good professional he is off the pitch. From Monday morning 8 o'clock to Saturday maybe 6 o'clock. From Saturday onwards to Sunday night, there's maybe a couple of pints involved, but first in the building, last out the building, first in the gym. Unbelievable person for me to watch and learn and ask questions, and can't speak highly enough of the big man.
He was funny as well, Griggsy, because in that COVID season, we got to hear Allan McGregor quite a few times because you couldn't hear. And there was the one up at Pittodrie, Rangers won 2-1, Alfredo got 2, and Lorna got absolutely halved. I don't know if you remember it. And,
on the touch, he gets halved on the touchline, knee height, and Griggs is in the rest face within 0.3 seconds. Yeah,
that's it. It was John Beaton, and he's giving it. John, what the fuck does he have to do to get sent off and everything else? And I always remember that season as well, because although we did do so well, if you look at that Old Firm game at New Year when Joe Aribo flicked it on and it went in off
own goal.
Yeah. Right, in the own goal, Rangers win 1-0, and I think that's the one where the boy gets sent off because he yanked Buff back as well. Griggsy was incredible in that game. The first 30 minutes, he was that save in the top corner.
Lee Griffiths. Yeah.
And he gets it's one of the best saves that I've ever seen. Top corner, you know how difficult it is to get there for a bending shot, everything else, it's incredible. And he gets up and he goes, I didn't touch it.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he was a force of nature, Griggsy. And the thing about Colin Stewart saying that he got better, I saw Allan McGregor's debut for Rangers, and he was up against a goalie at the time called Lionel Letizia, who was duck shit. He just couldn't. He was French, and he just didn't suit our game, right? Yeah. And it was Paul Le Guen took Griggsy out, and then Griggsy ended up becoming number one under when Walter came in.
Yeah,
and he was for seasons for us. He was absolutely unbelievable. Then obviously he left and he came back. But as I said to you, like, Greasy is as close as I've ever seen to Andy Gorham, who I think is the best ever Rangers goalie. And as I said, there's an argument for Greasy genuinely that he's up and is good. So, in amongst all his madness and everything else, and you know, when he came back to Rangers, apart from maybe that Hibs moment, which is funny, he was pretty much immaculate as a player for us, performance wise, everything. And I guess working with him must have been incredible.
Yeah, like you say, just you don't have to be. He went above and beyond with me. Him and his missus Shez, the pair of them went above and beyond with me and my missus as well. Just like in lockdown, with my mother-in-law passing away, and obviously us being stuck in Scotland. Her family were up in Fort William, mine are down the road, so we were kind of just us two there on our own. So yeah, everyone will speak highly enough of Greaves on the pitch, and rightly so. He's probably my favourite person I've ever worked with in football. An unbelievable fella. Great value on a night out. Great value on a golf course. Just great value in general. He's one of my favourite people I'll ever meet in my life. But yeah, I can't thank him enough and speak highly enough of him off the pitch as a friend, and how good he was in lockdown, and obviously on the pitch as well. Just always being there for me to peck his head with questions and footy quizzes. He loves a quiz and stuff like that. So yeah, he's brand new. He's the best.
Alfredo Morelos,
Spaceman.
Yeah. What was he like? Because I think it was Connor Goldson that tells the story of he used to miss like 5, 6, 7 chances in games, and he comes storming into the dressing room saying, "You guys can't keep a clean sheet. That's why we don't win." And he had missed like so many chances, and he was another one that came to fruition at 55, right at the right time. He was unbelievable for a period over Christmas and stuff like that. And obviously he got the Old Firm goals which he needed to get off and stuff like that. But a madman. Just the stuff that went through his head, just crazy.
Oh yeah, you'd pay money to spend 10 minutes in his head. He is I think Andy told the story on Open Goal. We were playing a game of Ludo. All I was fanning about before training on Ludo King, and it was me, Andy, Buff, and Eros Gresda. So the four of us are cracking away, and him and Eros fall out over something. And then within a second, he's got Eros up by the throat, up against the fridge, arguing over something. And Borna and Nico run over to back their mates up, and but they all arguing and shouting and screaming. It's all kicking off over a game of Ludo, and it's like, Buff, what the fuck has gone? Just fucking, we're having a game that's designed for 4-year-old kids, just having a fuck about before training, and within a split second, you've got someone around the neck up against the fridge, going off your fucking Barnet for no. Oh, he was character. But yeah, I go back to obviously listen to the gaffers over the overlap last week where he was saying that you've got to kind of work out how much you can let him get away with, because we knew we needed him. He was the goals. He was a lunatic. He's dragged us through a lot of games on his own, especially in Europe. A few big away games. I remember the Feyenoord game and the Porto game, and there was a few games in Europe, especially with big spaces to go and play on a counter-attack, where he was unplayable for them 2 or 3 years. And he obviously had the quality to do it in Scotland as well and things like that. But especially in Europe, that's where I thought we saw the absolute... When Buff was at his best, he was bordering on wanting to kill someone, but not too far that he'd get a straight red card and do something ridiculous. But he was one of them players you've got to let them play on the edge, and sometimes it'll, like the gaff said, sometimes it'll bite you on the arse and you'll go down to 10. But the times where he's just at the limit, he'll go and win you a game on his own.
Yeah, I loved him. Absolutely loved him. As you said, madman. But I think a heart of gold, and just he was funny. Tell us the truth. Could he speak English?
Bits, yeah.
He was
depends,
at it.
Depends. Yeah, 100%. Depends. Depends if he can be asked speaking to you, or if he wants to speak to you, or if he doesn't want to. Yeah, if he doesn't want the conversation, or he doesn't want to listen to you, then he's just like, Can't speak English, no problem. But as soon as he wants to have a wind up or start having a dig back at someone, he can speak. Like, he can walk in the changing room and say to Connor, "We only fucking lost because you didn't keep a clean sheet." But as soon as Connor will go back and say, "Well, you missed 8 chances," he can't speak English anymore. He's forgotten. So yeah, he was very good at picking and choosing when he could speak it.
Finally, Andy, 55, the celebrations, everything. What did it mean to you to be involved in that?
Just, yeah, amazing. You can't put it into words, really. Like, someone obviously with coming from England, being a Liverpool fan, and just only ever watching the Old Firm as an outsider, just to see the chaos on the pitch, and then to step into the club, obviously to have a few highs and lows in the first 2 years and things like that. You kind of, as soon as I walked in the door, the club and the fans had just gripped me by the balls, and I was all in. And to just be there and just be part of that for a day that obviously the fans had waited so long for. Like I mentioned, the fans before the St Mirren game, it's the middle of lockdown, it's COVID, and there's no one inside the ground, and there's about 30,000 stood outside the ground causing chaos. And just to see how much it means. Like, I'm obviously a Liverpool fan, and I knew how much everything meant to me as a kid, and just the love of football and the excitement and the passion, and to be able to be part of a team that gave something so big and so special back to the fans after a difficult 10 years was just, unbelievable. Best 4 years of my life. And you still see all the videos now, people sending you old videos and pictures or things coming up on your memories on your phone and stuff. And it's it's always nice to have a look back. And some unbelievable coaches I work with, obviously, but players as well, lads I still speak to a lot. Some really good lads in there that I'm just happy I met and shared part of the journey with.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Before we go, 6 games to go for Rangers at this moment in time. They sit a point behind Hearts, 2 ahead of Celtic. Do you think the lads can do it this year?
It's they've obviously, certain people have done the best to sort the fixtures out to suit other teams potentially, but expect fuck all less from them. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously 4 away games in the last 6. Look, it's going to be tough, but everyone plays everyone now, so there's no easy games for everyone. You look how well Falkirk have done this year, having just come up. Hibs have started to find a little bit of form again. I know Motherwell has struggled probably the last 2 or 3 weeks results-wise, but on paper they've still probably been the best football team in the league this year. They've played some unbelievable stuff. And then obviously Hearts and Celtic as well. So it's a massive 6 games for everyone. Everyone's going to take points off each other, and just hope that come the 18th of May or whatever it is, there'll be a big party in Falkirk somewhere, but we'll wait and see.
Andy, what an absolute pleasure it's been, mate. Honestly, I love talking to you. You know that. We've got a bit in common, not only Rangers, but Fort William and that part of your life now. You've got an incredibly lovely family in Bethany and the wee one. So, listen, mate, you're always welcome back home. You know that. We need to catch up for a pint next time you're back up our way. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, mate. Thoroughly good value, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm jealous of your tan, man. You look great. But thank you, buddy. I really, really appreciate it.
No, thank you very much for having me again, Stevie. Pleasure, my man.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been episode 6 of the Rangers Years, meeting Andy Firth, which was absolutely brilliant. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Please leave your comments, leave your best wishes for Andy. I'm sure we all appreciate it. Please take care. Thank you, Andy, once again, mate. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.